The next day came as a new ray of hope, determination, and power. Taehyung and Jungkook were tangled in bed with thin sheets covering them, and Jungkook was hugging Taehyung's waist protectively. Jungkook was the first to wake up. He saw his soon-to-be wife sleeping peacefully on his chest. He felt happy seeing Taehyung's peaceful face full of innocence. He stayed there, without moving, admiring his sleeping beauty. Yoonmin and Yoonmi were sleeping in one room, as Yoonmi doesn't want to leave Jimin and vice versa. Well, none of them had any problem with that, but the more interesting thing was Hoseok refused to let go of Suga's embrace after his past kicked in. So Suga suggested on sleeping in Hoseok's room. Hyams had a big problem with that and said Hoseok and Jin would sleep together, but Hoseok was not even ready to leave Suga. He hugged him tightly and mumbled something no one understood. Vin said that it's okay if Hoseok was feeling safe with Suga and requested him to take care of Hoseok. Suga never crossed the line. In fact, he slept on sofa in Hoseok's bedroom and consoled him whenever he got nightmares. What they didn't know was, Namjin was in Min's room all night, sitting beside him on the bed, staring at him with love-filled eyes, holding his hand, and put him to sleep again when he got nightmares. Jin had no idea about it. As the sun rose, he immediately left the room, not before stealing a forehead kiss, and after a bit of greedy thoughts, a cheek kiss, and rushed to his room. Later, he checked the set of home and changed them, so that he wouldn't get caught. It was the day they have to go to that home to meet those monsters. Everyone got ready, had their breakfast to their heart content. Hyams and Nunes didn't sleep. They couldn't sleep. After knowing what has happened to their little ones, they were devastated. They needed time. Jay almost inhaled at least 10 cigarettes in agony and anger, until Rhea stopped him the last night. Now was the time for battle. Not with swords and guns, but with brains, maybe guns and knives as well. But how do we know that anyway? Taehyung, Jimin and Hoseok were keeping an eye on the location of their parents. They have already hacked the cameras of the house they were staying. Police was already surrounding the house. They are going to meet in the casual style not to get caught. As expected, Peter and Alex was with them as well, but they were disguised. Everyone's heart was pounding, but they kept calm. According to their plan, they have to catch them red-handed. Jay has called a lot of backup from police just in case. Even Ayunjun's parents were a part of this mission to catch Peter. Jane and Hoseok were checking the evidences they submitted, and Hans were busy circulating the evidences in media. Jay and others were busy in checking the cameras on the road they hacked to know where they are at present. They were maintaining precautions about their locations, as these monsters can scam them. Was expected they have changed vehicles twice within an hour. Peter and Alex were also with them. Suddenly Jay got a call. He attended the call, put that in speaker. Sir, there are so many men in the hotel suspicious. Apparently they are men of Mr. Kim's, Mr. Jung's and Mr. Park's. They are talking about something to them. Over. The other line said. Unevering listened to him carefully. Have they started yet? Over. Jay asked, his voice cold, calm and calculative. No, sir. They ordered me to arrange their breakfast. They were talking about going there at 10 a.m. Over. The person said. Okay. Jay cut the call and everyone smirked. They still have time left. They reached the house already and made it look like used. Then they all closed every entrance and the digital lock was hacked by Taehyung. Only the authorized list of persons can open the door. Taehyung and Jimin would control that with a remote. Hoseok prepared a long time ago. Lady Peaches didn't want it to open or close the door themselves after they forgot, so just to use the remote instead to lock the room. Now it came handy for them. Okay, Gois. We actually have time now. They still didn't arrive. Be ready to kidnap our own parents, Din said, winking at them while the other laughed. Jay Hein, ask your team to be alert. Alex and Peter are coming here with many men. Your officers should fight them. For some time we all can handle Alex and Peter. Our parents will be kidnapped in the gap only. Once we start we shouldn't make any mistakes, Taehyung said again. After some time they all hide inside the house. Alex and Peter busted inside the house along with elders and saw there were no one inside the hall. Pin dropped silence. Then they heard click from their back. They turned back and saw the door was locked. Is this door digital? Alex asked, seeing the door really for locked. The older people were looking confused. They clearly expected their children to be present there. But turns out there's no one here. Then they saw some smoke coming out from kitchen. They rushed there expecting the children to be there, but got nothing. Just smoke was there, but it was not from the stove. Then from where? Mrs. Jeon tried opening the windows, only to realize they were closed from the outside. The smoke increased, and now coming from every direction. Peter called his guards who didn't respond. They got panicked. Alex held Mr. Kim's collar. Where is Taehyung? You said they'll be here. Then what is all this? He asked in rage. Alex and Peter felt betrayed. Peter held gun on Mr. Park's head. Did you plan a trap? I know about you fixing Jimin's marriage with another boy for money, Peter shouted. By now everything was smoky and suffocating. Everyone were feeling dizzy. What the hell? This is dizzy. How dare you old try to betray us, Peter said and shouted in the direction of Mr. Park. They shouted in fear. Their brain was not functioning properly due to excessive gas. Alex and Peter fired their guns at random because now everything is black and cloudy here. Second by second the gas was only increasing inside the room. All these masterpiece people are now seated inside a room, away from the hall. They are watching the scene with the thermal imaging cameras installed in the house. They fixed the gas bombs and then locked everything that can become the path for them escape and then came to this room. Have I tit for tat? They think our parents are the one trapping them. They won't believe at once when they'll get to know we are the one doing all this, Jimin said in between his laugh while Taehyung, Hoseok, Din, No and Jake are already rolling on the floor for the unexpected misunderstanding they caused. Thanks to the soundproof technology Namjin installed in that room full of screams. Whoa, I didn't think this will turn out more funny than what we actually planned, Taehyung said, wiping his tears because of laughing hardly. See, have I? That fool shot his own brother, have I? Nor pointed out at the screen where Alex shot Peter in the shoulder. Yeah, you old. How dare you? You bought guns with you. I'll kill you all today and take him in with me, Peter shouted in pain. Peter, are you awake? Yoe. Once I'll get you all in my hands, even God will not save you, Alex shouted again. The elders were already knocked out by suffocation, and Alex and Peter were at the verge of fainting. Slowly Peter and Alex were also on the ground. Half-eyed, did you see how he was shouting at the knocked-out people when he was the one to shoot his brother? Such an idiot, Hoseok said while laughing. Jungkook, Suga, Yoonmin and Namjin were all whipped for their louvers. Well, not Namjin exactly, and Sok should officially announce the news. Taehyung was sitting on Jungkook's lap comfortably. Yoonmin was laying his head on Jimin's lap, occasionally teasing Jimin by tickling his stomach, and there secretly. Hoseok and Suga were sticked together like glue, and Namjoon was sitting beside Jin, as there was no place left. Or that seat was arranged by someone for Namjoon. Others were also looking at the screen while laughing. Now, and the final strike, Taehyung said, and now everyone got up to go out. They wanted to meet Alex and Peter personally. They wore masks that prevents them from inhaling the gas. They waited a bit for the smoke to clear. Within some minutes the smoke was cleared, and things were clearly visible. Alex and Peter's bodies were swaying like they have exceeded their limit is alcohol. Jungkook and others didn't wait. They snatched the guns and knives from Alex and Peter before they realized. Namjoon and Jungjoon took the responsibility of handcuffing them to the wall they prepared for them. They were hung like some rags to dry. They protested, but because of the punches on their faces it became difficult for them to protest. Taehyung, Jimin, Din, Hoseok, Lily, Rhea, Nov and Jake already took care of their old parents. Now they were all settled on the sofas with their lovers waiting for them get their senses back. Namjin, how did you get that drugs that easily in just hours? That too in the night time? Jin asked, being confused. Yes, the drug bombs were arranged by Namjin in just 3 hours. Although Jin and Jisoo were the one to arrange the drug in the bombs, equipment was Namjin's. That, see, once I helped in mission, and they got drugs like these recently. They were in the godown. When I said I can catch Alex and Peter for them, and demanded for these drugs, police send them secretly to us. That too the address I gave was fake, so it took 3 hours to come. He answered, and Jen was shocked to know that police departments send those drugs. What a situation. Wait, if Namjin Hying is so influential, Taehyung said with shining eyes, only to get a shiver in his spine. Will these old thugs be alive after this much gas? Jay asked, seeing no moment in them. No harm. Overconsumption of this drug can only cause a confused state for a long term, and also some organ failure. They'll not die, Namjoon said seriously. Others just nodded their heads and waited for the right time. Slowly Alex and Peter came to their minds. The first thing they saw was Taehyung sitting on Jungkook's lap, and Jimin half laying on Yoonj. Their eyes turned red. They were all in their own world, talking and giggling. Some even romancing. What the hell? Alex shouted with red eyes. He was looking like a monster that didn't eat from a long time. Ah, you're finally awake, Taehyung said sarcastically. Don't you feel ashamed to sleep when we are waiting here to talk to you? What kind of manners you have had? Jimin scolded them. For a moment both brothers were dumbfounded. They can't understand what's happening here anymore. Jungkook, how dare you eat? You trapped Taehyung. Alex roared like a pig. Yo, didn't anyone tell you your voice is like a pig that has some disease? Din shouted at him in anger. Alex blares at him and tried to go to them, and realized that they were handcuffed and it's difficult to get away with that. Jungkook. Chu, son of a, you always snatch what's mine. I'll kill you all today. Alex shouted again. Taehyung had enough of his shouting. So he picked up a rod and directly hit on Alex's elbow joint, making him wince painfully. Shut up. Taehyung shouted at him and returned to his personal seat. The fame in the racing is earned by skills and hard work, Alex. And if you talking about my wife, we are already engaged. When we were just 2 months old, it was decided from the start that Taehyung will be my wife. It's you who always come after what's mine. Jungkook said in a coldacey tone and dark eyes piercing his head, but Alex wasn't having it. He was trying and wiggling to get of the handcuffs. Peter was still looking at Jimin with dirty gaze like a psychopath. Still no shame. Yoonmin has enough of this. He got up from his seat, took a pen, and directly stabbed Peter straight in the eye. Peter screamed like a mad dog. Yoonmin threw the pen aside and sat there after cleaning the blood. Don't look at my property, you. I don't like it. You know that, right? Yoonmin said in a dark tone. He was still raging in anger but controlled himself. You think you can escape after doing all this? There are my men outside this house. You can't escape, Peter said with confidence. But the others laughed like they heard a joke. Peter was confused at first but then gritted his teeth. Do you think police officers left them just like that? It was us from the start to plan. You though everything is going according to you. But it was going according to us, Wooshik said in a venomous tone. He wanted to strangle them to death, but he can't. Your parents have a huge loan. You have to sell Jimin to me at the end." Peter still managed to smirk. Jimin felt disgusted with that, but Jin's angry mode got on. He took a pink slipper and started beating them black and blue in the face. They shouted and wiggles, but no use. Hose Up went a step ahead and bought Mr. Jung's smelly socks and made both brothers smell it. Alex and Peter saw stars in the daylight. Taehyung and Jimin were not any less. Taehyung took steel spatula and heated it, made marks in their face. Jimin took a feather and started tickling them one by one, taking his own time. After all the torture, both became miserable. At last, after getting hit by Jin's pink pan in head, they lost consciousness completely. To make sure they won't wake up early, Jin even drugged them with anesthesia. Jaehyung, inform your officers to take away Peter and Alex first. They both are drugged heavily and easy to take away, Jimin said while looking at both brothers. They were already knocked out. Okay. Then who will take away your parents? Jay asked in a confused tone. Leave that on us. We'll personally take care of our parents, Taehyung said, smiling sweetly. Okay, not that sweet, maid. Time skip. Alex felt a sharp pain in his head as if his brain was pinged by needles. He tried opening his eyes, but it wasn't possible. His eyelids felt heavier than metal. He doesn't know why his body was paining, as if a train ran over him. After trying for what felt like an hour, he finally was able to see things. Not clearly, but in a big blur. Days. Whatever that is. Only blurry colors were visible. He couldn't quite figure it out for some time. His throat was so dry that he couldn't utter a word. Then after some time, he saw it, a dim-lit room. Beside him was his brother. On the ground, with his hands on his backside. He was still in a daze. He shook his head to regain his control. Peter, he whispered. Peter was having some blue and purple dark bruises on his face. On the eye, jaw, cheek, Peter was still knocked out. Alex tried to move, but then he realized he couldn't move his body and hands. He looked down at himself and realized that he was also held back by handcuffs. Then he saw his surroundings. It was a jail. The bar gates, the thick familiar walls. His heartbeat raised. He panicked. Peter, he called again, this time loudly, and began kicking him slightly with his leg to wake Peter up. After some tried, Peter finally woke up. He was also in the same situation as him at first. After some time, he regained his control and saw Alex. Both brothers were devastated. How dare they, those kids trapped us, Peter said, gritting his teeth. He couldn't believe that those kids have actually betrayed them, and now they are in jail. They saw the jailer rooming there with a stick on his hand. They kept quiet for some time. Where did they get that gas? Why police didn't catch them for using drugs like that? Peter questioned, but they were still thinking. Peter, first think of how are we going to get out of here? I'll not leave them like this. They have to pay for what they have done. Alex roared practically. Because of all the incidents, his head was still blasting with smoke, and now his brother's questions were irritating him to his core. On the other side, a dim-lit room, more like a basement, with creepy green thing and spider net. Seems like this place wasn't cleaned for years. Mr. Park opened his eyes slowly, and immediately smelled something pungent. He immediately tried closing his nose, only to notice his hands were tied in chains in the either sides. That too he was standing. He looked confused for a moment. Then he saw others as well. They were also tied in a similar way. He saw Mr. Kim and Mr. Jung also gaining their consciousness. But Mr. Kim, Jin's father, wasn't waking up. Mr. Kim there called him, but not response. In the meantime, the old ladies also woke up. They all were confused on what's happening. Why are we here? Mrs. Park said, looking at the dusty and creepy place with disgusted eyes. Why are we tied up? She asked again, but there was no answer. Did Alex and Peter did this to us? Mrs. Kim asked in a shaky voice. But the possibility can be true because only they were not here. Why will they do that? Didn't we agree to the deal? Mr. Park said. They were all confused. Mr. Kim, they tried again but failed. Mrs. Kim started crying seeing this. Her dear husband is not waking up. Honey, what happened to you? Mrs. Kim wailed, thrashing against the chains but failed. Suddenly the creepy creak sound of the door opening caught their attention. There some people wearing masks and black dress entered with various set of knives. There were all kinds of knives and whips, not to mention the medical equipments like scissors, clutches, and many more. They shivered visibly. Who are you? What do you all want? Mr. Jung shouted at them, but got silence as an answer. No one answered them, as if they were invisible. After placing everything they left from there again, closing the door. The people inside broke into cold sweat due to fear. None of them able to form a word. They were all scared to death. Mr. Kim was not waking up. This added more fuel to the fire. They heard so many footsteps approaching them. They tried to move but not possible. Just then the door opened and group entered. Wait, they were familiar. Good evening, my dear parents, how are you all? Taehyung said with a scary deep voice. His lip have a creepy sweet smile and eyes dark, that night sky. They felt a shiver run down their spine. Beside Taehyung was Jimin. He was also looking the same, like a pretty little monster who just saw his prey and ready to suck the blood. On the other side of Taehyung were Jin and Hoseop. They both crossed their hands, and were deadly glaring at them. The elders were shocked to see them here, that means their own children kidnapped them. This was an unexpected betrayal they have faced. You, how is this possible? Taehyung, what is happening here? Mr. Kim roared in anger. Jimin and Taehyung closed their ears irritatedly. Yo, you oldie dog. Don't shout. My ears will bleed. Taehyung shouted back in anger. Their others were stunned at their children's behavior. How come they changed over one night? Taehyung, you useless child. How dare you talk like that? Mrs. Kim shouted at him, but Taehyung directly slapped her on face without any regrets. Shock was written all over her face. Didn't I just say to shut the up? Why do you have to run your useless mouth everywhere? Taehyung said with a dark look. None of them dared to shout, because just by one slap Mrs. Kim's cheek was swollen blue. They didn't wanted that. Now you have cooled down. We'll see a movie, Hoseop said with a sunshine smile, which at this point of time looked scary to their parents. They are reconsidering their life decisions, which was of no use now. Jimin presses a button in his hand, and there was a lighting, a white screen and a projector.